Hello everyone and welcome back to FTB Skies 2. It's episode 22 and it is our last day with Modern Industrialization and our second last episode. We're going to finish up Modern Industrialization today, and then next episode we will be finishing everything we need for the Feed the Beast pyramid. If you haven't already voted on the poll in our community tab, go ahead and do that. However, I will say the odds are highly in the favor of us doing a Divine Journey 2 playthrough next on the channel, so look forward to that unless the poll swings the other way entirely. But nevertheless, let's jump right into things. We got a lot to do today. Now, I've only done a few minor things around the base. I set up coal dust into carbon dust so that we can get carbon plates, which are used in the crafting of qubits. We also set up our helium to be converted into helium-3, and it's a single tank, and that is because this recipe is horrendously slow. It converts one bucket into 5 millibuckets, and we don't have that great of a source of helium. We have both monazite and the one I set up off camera, which was uranium dust. So we're getting 150 or 300 millibuckets per craft, and it's only a chance. They're both 50% chances. The other way to get helium in the pack is through shale oil. However, this requires you to set up an oil drilling rig with stainless steel drills, and it's just a whole thing that I just don't really need to do. I don't mind waiting. However, this amount of helium-3 should be fine. We're only going to be using it for the quantum circuit board, and if we want, we can duplicate it with the replicator later on, but we can duplicate anything with the replicator, so I'm not too worried. And yeah, that's about it, other than just this guy right here, which is uranium dust into helium and uranium-238 and 235, because we're going to need that. Oh, and I guess we set up the pumps and magnetic steel rods just because they're used in a lot of the crafting recipes. Other than that, we haven't done much. Like I said, we're jumping right into things. So first things first, we're getting the highly advanced machine casings as well as the highly advanced machine hulls. And I don't know which one of these are the quest, so I'm just going to grab one of each. There we go, that's the quest. And we get some in return as well. But yeah, we don't really need these right away, but I'm going to make them. I set up the recipes for them. Large advanced pump and large advanced motors. Perfect. And then we also have the highly advanced upgrades. These are used in the quantum upgrade itself, and we need 32 of them. And if we look up 32, what did I just say? And if we look up to make 32 of these, you will see we need 19,000 transistors. We need, well, the mechanism circuits don't really count. It's these guys we need. So we ignore the mechanism stuff, but we need 639 digital circuits, 160 processing units. Like, we need a bunch of stuff, like 7,000 of these, 9,000 of these, right? This is why we have so much backlog, because imagine trying to do all of this manually. It just wouldn't go great. I'm telling you right now, it would not be a fun time. So we will get to that eventually once we get there. But for now, we don't really need to do this, as we're not after the gravity chestplate, to say the least. What we're after is the nuclear reactor, and that's because we need tritium. We can get deuterium, and no, we can't use the tritium we have from here. We have to make it again, just the modern industrialization way. However, the deuterium is slightly mechanism based, and that is because we're just using the heavy water we're getting from these to centrifuge into modern industrialization heavy water. So we have a bunch of this. And that's because the heavy water itself will be used in our nuclear reactor in a second. So that is what we're doing with that. However, I say a second, but it's going to be more like a few minutes, because we got to set up a few more things before we can get nuclear reactors going. And by a few things, I mainly mean the Implosion compressor. This is how we get beryllium ingots. If you remember, we made a beryllium B. However, he hasn't been able to actually do any work yet because, well, we don't have any beryllium ingots for him to work with. So we got to make ourselves an Implosion compressor, and that requires some solid titanium blocks as well as blast-proof casings. Now, the blast-proof alloy itself is pretty simple. It's just tungsten, titanium, and stainless steel. So I've set the recipe up right here for this. However, there is a much better recipe in the Implosion compressor, which turns one blast-proof ingot into 3 rather than 2 into 1. It's a 1-to-3 ratio, because then you just compress those manually. However, that also requires industrial TNT, which is really easy to make. It's just nitrogen, toluene, sand, and flint. Now, I will say I don't have flint automated, so I gotta figure that out. We could use create, I guess, or we can enrich gunpowder. Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna enrich gunpowder. That might seem silly, but we have 27 million of it thanks to our mob farm, so that's the recipe we're gonna go with. I don't think this is the recipe most people go with when they want to make flint. Let's say I wanted, I don't know, 1.5 million flint. Cool. Oh, you know what? First of all, do input output, and we gotta have some power go in. There we go. Nice. So yeah, we'll have enough flint to last us forever. And we obviously have the nitrogen, as well as the toluene in plenty, so I'm not too worried about that. Oh, you may have noticed we set up 3 more refineries. That's because these things are so horrendously slow, and we need so much naphtha that it was just worth doing it that way. And yeah, now that we have Flint set up, we can just do all of this stuff here. Oh, I should be able to make this now. Make one of those. And luckily, the quest does provide us with a decent amount itself, so we can actually just make it directly for the quest, like this. And then slowly but surely, this guy will make both our mixed blastproof ingots as well as our blastproof alloy plates. I'm slowly realizing I definitely should have made this prior. Unfortunately, this is horrifically slow, so I'm just going to speed that up manually for now and just let those finish, because yeah, that would take us 10 years to get done at this rate. But like I said, the quest does give us some, so we should be fine. There we go. And the quest is just down here. Now, I don't think I'm going to use another vacuum freezer, but for now, I'm just going to place our blocks down here. So there's only a few things we actually use this guy for. One of them, well, the beryllium ingots we talked about. Another being the singularity once we get there. So we'll just make the recipe for it. We're going to use it for the infinitely compressed circuit board as well, for the pyramid. So we'll make the recipe, because why not? Like I said, it'll be for blastproof alloy ingots, for nuclear alloy plates, which we got to add to our packer down below. We also have to add recipes for these guys as well. And the last thing we would technically use the implosion compressor for is iridium plates. However, with productive metalworks, you can simply melt iridium, which we already have coming in with iridium nuggets from our bees, and just cast it directly into plates. So you can skip this whole thing of needing extra blastproof alloy ingots, and that's what we'll be doing, so we'll say no to those for now. But for the rest of them, we're going to set them in the pattern provider right down here. We will add that into there, and we'll take that out since we don't need it anymore. Go into the garbage, good sir. So if I want to make some more blastproof alloy plates, let's say 32 of them. Oh, you know what? We didn't set up industrial TNT. That's actually a big one. We made the flint, but we didn't set up this yet, which is pretty simple. It's just an electric mixer. So we'll just do something over here for this guy. And that should start crafting immediately. Perfect. And we'll auto export it into this guy. And now what we can do is make those blastproof plates. So let's say make 32 of them now. Okay, we hear the explosions. Good. Nice, that all worked. And then I assume it's compressing over here. Yes, slowly but surely. And we do have to remember to remove overdrive modules for things that aren't single recipe pattern providers, because otherwise they just stop working. But yeah, that, I mean, it's still a slow recipe, but it's not as bad. Yeah, it's not too bad. Okay. But what we're mainly using this for is beryllium ingots. So if I wanted to say, like, make, I don't know, 2600 random number. Oh, you know what? We don't have a recipe for that, and we have to wait for the industrial TNT. Fun fact, we have to wait. Okay, so the only way to make stainless steel nuggets for some reason is an electric unpacker. So we're just going to make one of those. I wonder if you could use... No, because it's not a recipe. I was going to say you could maybe use a compacting drawer, but I don't think it would work. I mean, I could test it, but we're just going to do it the intended method, which is silly, but, you know, we'll do what we have to do. Now, by all means, if I want to make, I don't know, 100 beryllium ingots, well, let's be... Okay, let's wait for it to catch up like a bit. Hey, there we go. And that was instant. And it's because the recipe's so, like, strong, but we can make ourselves a beryllium block. And where's our beryllium bee? Right here. Perfect. And if we speed this guy up, we should see some beryllium combs, potentially. There we go. And if we throw beryllium combs into this guy, in no time at all, we should see some progress results. Now, I don't even know what these give. Oh, it gives beryllium dust. Okay, that's perfect. I mean, that's what we're looking for anyways. It would be nice if we got beryllium ingots, but I know it obviously can't do that for us. But it does give us the tiny dust, which is what we need to use anyways. So I'm just going to follow the quest book, as in the fact that we're just going to make titanium drills, not because we're going to need to use them, but because the recipe is needed to unlock some quests, because the quest book is designed as if you were doing modern industrialization by itself, and not as if you were doing modern industrialization the way I am by using 19 different mods. So we'll grab those titanium drills to unlock the fuel rod slot. There we go. And that's only because, like I said, fuel rods are gated behind it for some reason, because I guess the way you get uranium is different, I assume. Or maybe for helium. No, helium comes from stainless steel. I don't know. Anyways, I really got to make a pattern provider terminal, but I don't know. I haven't made one yet for some reason. But we want to make ourselves some fuel rods. So we have everything here other than blast-proof curved plates, which, you know what? I'm just going to set up its own bending machine for. And that's because we're going to need to craft them on demand for our reactor, technically speaking. I mean, it's not exactly, but I don't know. it is kind of easier to do this way. That's the wrong. There we go. And I guess I should make my own assembler for these guys as well. Okay, and with all those recipes done, I should have everything to make the nuclear reactors now, potentially. Oh, we didn't do cadmium control rod recipe. That's an easy fix. Okay, now I should be able to make a nuclear reactor. Oh, we're missing helium. That makes sense. All of my helium's currently going into here. Yeah, let's stop putting helium in there because, yeah, I have enough helium-3. I meant to stop that a while ago. There we go. And the bottleneck is obviously the cadmium rods that we hadn't made before, as well as the nuclear mixed plates, but everything seems to be crafting pretty well. Now, we could passive all of this. I just don't see a necessity to, because we can just set it to craft and go do it. I wouldn't hate passiving it all. We have the resources to do it. I'm not sure. We might in the future. I might regret this and say, oh, we need to. So instead of losing efficiency every time we switch between, well, this processing pattern and this one, I went ahead and switched it up so that they all have their own recipe. And I mean, it just saves on time. It's not that big of a deal. We could also make some more implosion compressors if need be, but for now, I think it's fine. Everything there was crafted, which means we can go ahead and claim the quests. Ta-da! Nice. And that's 18 gold coins in our pocket. Nice. Now, the reason we're building a reactor is so we can get a decent recipe for tritium, because the only way to get tritium is hydrogen, which turns 1,000 millibuckets into 1 millibucket, or with a fusion reactor, which turns deuterium into tritium. However, we can't make a fusion reactor without having quantum circuits to begin with, which requires tritium to begin with. So first of all, we have to do nuclear reactors. We could do it this way, it would just take 10,000 years to get the tritium we need. So if I place down a nuclear reactor, and I almost want to do it in the center here, like have a mini platform right above here, do a little something like that, and then just figure out the size of this reactor that we're going to be making. So we'll place that down, and then we'll come into the nuclear reactor here, and you set the size yourself. So we're going to go with an extreme reactor because we can. There's no reason not to. And this will be the size of it. So I'm just going to center this guy, and I was only one block off centering it, so that's actually not bad. And if we hold that out, look at that, nice and centered in the middle. And then we'll probably do our fusion reactor directly above it. But nevertheless, what we have to do with this guy is, well, get the blocks for it. And let me tell you, it's a lot of blocks, but it's not too bad. Genuinely, we can make it pretty easily. If we right-click the nuclear reactor here, we'll just see the biggest structure, the extreme one. So that's what, 180 more alloy pipes, and then what? We have 67, I believe. So 210 more alloy casings. And let's see if this breaks the bank. So 210, I said, right? Oh, okay. Well, we have almost everything to make this. In all fairness, it's not that bad. The biggest drawback is battery alloys, so I'll just add some upgrades to those and let them catch up really fast, and then we can start making them. How many batteries are we needing? Oh, I guess it's for all the circuits we need a bunch of batteries. Okay, yeah. I should have realized we should make a decent amount of upgrades for that. And luckily, the time pouch solves our issues very, very fast, so that should be done by now, actually. So I said 180 of these? Yeah, perfect. Wait, no, I wanted 210, so 30 more. And then 180 of these guys, which is going to require some more aluminum plates and electron wire, but that is only because we've used them all. It just has to catch up really fast. And then in the top of the reactor, we're going to need 60 fluid hatches. We already have 5 of them. Hello. What are you being used for? There we go. I was going to say, it shouldn't be being used for anything. Look how fast that is. Yeah, it's so much better with one machine. But yeah, so we'll take those out. And by all means, this should be everything we need to construct this behemoth of a machine. Now, I will say, as I'm building this, I am clearly realizing I messed up the numbers somehow, some way, because everything here is correct, but for some reason I have 36 extra nuclear alloy pipes. Couldn't exactly tell you why. My math is like completely off. Oh, you know why? Wait. Oh, were these supposed to be nuclear alloy pipes in the corners? There's a chance. Oh, they are. Okay, never mind. I was going to say, my numbers can't be that off, right? But yeah, it's because these corner blocks are supposed to be nuclear alloy pipes. It just wasn't very clear when I was down there what it was. Okay, so I messed something up somewhere. It is 60 fluid hatches and 9 item hatches for this build specifically. And I will link a very helpful tool for modern industrialization reactor building in the comments below. You can easily build your reactor with a reactor planner provided by a great user named Warback. He has a GitHub where you can create your reactor and then see exactly how it will function and what it will produce. Now that we have a fully constructed reactor, if we go to the interface, we can see where our items are and where our fluids are. Now, the way this actually works is these are both inputs and outputs simultaneously. So the way you automate it with applied energistics is by using storage buses. So we're just going to come over here and slap down storage buses on top of all of these, and we can't do it with our wand. I didn't think we could. It would make it easier, but we'll just go ahead and place them down individually, like so, and then we will go to our item hatch ones, these guys, and we will drag in our uranium fuel rods. And we'll say filter on insertion only, and so that the filter only inserts what we're giving it. And then for these guys, we will do heavy water, specifically the modern industrialization kind, and once again, filter on insertion only. And then we'll just set all that up for all of them. However, we're not going to go manually set all of those. We're going to use a memory card and say the item hatch right here. We're going to config that. We're going to copy that to our memory card and then go over to our next item hatch and load it. So that means it will load automatically and we don't have to do these all manually. Otherwise, that would genuinely be insane. And I definitely would go insane doing it. There's a chance I missed one, but I'm pretty sure we're all good. So last you saw, we were placing storage buses on the ports and setting the filters with the filter cards. Now we've kept that same distinctive look to our reactor. However, what I did above it shouldn't be allowed on the internet. This is disgusting. And I could do it better, but I chose not to. So when I turn around right now, don't laugh at me, please. This is our setup. And no, it's not efficient. And no, it's not good, but I will explain it. We have 4 interfaces going into import buses. These interfaces are stocking heavy water and uranium fuel rods, and it is being imported into all of the ports. So that is on all 4 sides. Then we have export buses, exporting tritium, depleted uranium fuel rods, and heavy water steam from the storage buses once again back into interfaces, which goes to our main system here. Now you'll see this only uses 8 of our channels, and that's because technically this is a sub-network. It is powered with quartz fiber in between the interfaces. So we have 4 interfaces, the 4 right there, and these 4. So those are our 8 channels. Now we are giving power to these channels with quartz fiber without actually using the channels, if that makes sense to you. Now this, once again, not the prettiest setup. It's a functional setup, but it's not the best setup. We can improve this a lot, but for now, we are getting the tritium we need. And a decent amount of it. Not an amazing amount, but a decent amount. Now, the depleted uranium fuel rods can be reprocessed into uranium tiny dust, 235 tiny dust, as well as plutonium dust. And this is the important one. We're going to want to recycle this, so I'm going to set up a centrifuge, I don't know, over here, I guess. And now that we have our tritium, we're pretty close to being able to make quantum circuits. Now, the reason we need plutonium is, well, plutonium batteries is the main method of making the quantum machine halls, the quantum circuit boards, as well as SV storage units, but we won't be touching this. But the quantum machine halls and the quantum circuit boards are our big gets, so we're going to need the plutonium for that. Now, we do have the Oratech recipe with the particle collider if we wanted to, so it's not that big of a deal if we don't get plutonium this way, but it is nice. So I'm going to set up a recipe to turn that into plutonium. Now there's a few more steps we have to take before we can get those quantum circuits, and that is mainly getting the one thing for doing modern industrialization for the cryofluid. And I don't know why I haven't set this up at this point, but it's time to set up cryofluid. And then by simply exporting both helium and argon into this guy, and 32 turbo upgrades only allows it to go up to 18 efficiency, which is kind of crazy, but this will start making us cryofluid. And if you remember, well, we need cryofluid for the ultimate singularity. However, we also need cryofluid to make both the cooling cells and the qubits. Now, if I start building out the recipes, I can see what I do and don't have in the system. I'm just going to check everything in here, then we'll take back what we need later. But that is its own assembler recipe, so we need those. We're going to need the superconductor cables as well, which can't be made in a quest. They have to be made in an assembler themselves. So that's 2 unique assemblers. We're going to need qubits. We're going to want the quantum circuit board as well. We're going to want to set this up as well for superconductor dust, but that we can do in any second now. That's not too big of a worry. I need plutonium batteries set up as a crafting recipe, and I think that's all. We're going to see in a second. So we'll set each one of those, and then we're just going to need a mixer to do the superconductor dust. Now I will say something that's funny. We've never made a macerator yet. I need 2 of these. Where are you going? There we go. Okay. Yeah, we've yet to make a macerator, which is hilarious to me. And the reason we need this guy, oh, that's not correct, is so we can make annealed copper dust. Because you have to macerate annealed copper to get copper dust. You can't use the crusher from mechanism like we do for everything else, unfortunately. So we will set that up really fast. And that should get started immediately. And if we provide this guy with power for the first time and export to the bottom, we should start getting superconductor dust, potentially, if we auto-export it, that is. Now throw a turbo in there. Yeah, and slowly but surely that will progress. We don't need a upgrade in this thing. 72 efficiency is way more than enough, considering our bottleneck is the annealed copper. Now with this superconductor dust, we're going to do the same Canthal setup we have over here, without hopefully breaking all of our machines while doing so. And do I have an open one? I do not. Okay, so we gotta add another vacuum freezer. It would help if we actually placed the vacuum freezer block inside of that. It would also help if we added the superconductor to our system. Would be nice. So one thing I've mistakenly done is I haven't set downgrades in these. Now we could auto import them into our system, but then we would make infinite. So I do like having the buffer here. Now we could do level emitters and everything like that. But yeah, these back ones, I don't need 2000 hot ingots on backlog. I'd rather have anything but hot ingots on backlog, to say the least. So I'm going to put downgrades in these. I just forgot all of them. This one I just added a copper upgrade, because why not? Why not waste things and make it harder on myself? But if we link that up, those should go into this guy up here. And our turbo upgrades are done, so we can throw the rest of them in here. And that brings us up to efficiency 16. Not too shabby. So we'll config and lock that. Now, if I wanted to make a quantum circuit, let's see what we're missing. Probably superconductor. Okay, we're missing helium-3, iridium plates, stainless steel plates, and carbon plates. Carbon plates I shouldn't be missing. I think I'm just having connected them. Yes, okay. Carbon plates is easy. Helium-3 is easy. Now the iridium plates we said we were going to automate with the casting, but our implosion compressor is so fast. I think we're just going to implode them because we have so much industrial TNT. I think it's just easier this way. And then we can show it off. And then stainless steel large plates. Easy enough. Okay, so by all means, mixed iridium ingots. That's fair. We didn't make those. So I need another packer. Not an unpacker. No. One of those. So if we set the auto output, link this to our system, then they should start making us wires. Potentially. Perfect. Okay, we're getting somewhere. And then if we link this to our system, there we go. Okay, we have everything done now. So if we go into quantum, to make a single circuit, we need the mixed iridium ingots. Okay, the thing I didn't set up yet, but this will take 2 seconds. Now if we try, boom, we can make it. And if we scroll down, you'll see all the things we need. We have everything available except glass and I guess the diodes, but all these are manual crafts. And then the things that we haven't done yet are assembly recipes. But other than that, everything's passived. It's not too many things in all honesty, and we can click start. And the biggest thing we're waiting on are the cooling cells and all that. I think I've added turbos into these. Yes, I have. Okay. Or not turbos, sorry, but overdrives. Also, I should do blocking on these guys. It looks nicer when you do blocking, in my opinion. But yeah, slowly but surely these guys will finish. How much cryofluid do we have? 125 buckets, not bad. What about tritium? 600 buckets, okay. Not too shabby. Now, like I said, we could have set up the centrifuge to do both deuterium and tritium, but it's just not that great of a return for the amount you have to put in. Like, we have infinite hydrogen, so I'm not like concerned about my hydrogen usage. It's just not worth it. Now, I will say I do have to start electrolyzing some heavy water ASAP to actually get the deuterium we need, because the deuterium itself is used to make nukes, and we need nukes to make singularities. So I should set that up right now before I forget, because otherwise we're going to end up there and then we're not going to have it. I'll be like, oh, time to wait some more. Now, by all means, we could go ahead and passive these quantum circuits, but it's simply not worth it. Passiving up until HV and getting the processing unit boards, I think is the farthest you need to set up passive crafting for. But other than that, we're like, you're genuinely fine to go not much further than that. Cool. And that should be good. So this guy should finish up any second now. Oh, and it finished when we went to it. And that is the quantum circuit unlocked. So the main thing we had to do to get that was the implosion compressor, as well as the nuclear reactor here. Now, once again, like I said, you don't need to build a nuclear reactor. You can get tritium the other way with the centrifuge. It just takes a ridiculously long time for the recipe to craft as well. It's just not a good return. This is pretty simple. Now, you don't have to build one this big either. Like I showed, there are the different sizes. It's just that we have infinite resources, so there's no reason not to. Nevertheless, quantum achieved. Now, to use a quantum circuit, we could make a fusion reactor. However, we don't really have a use for a fusion reactor, like at all. We could get tritium this way, but we have enough tritium now that we don't need it. Same with deuterium. And then, well, we don't need the power, obviously, from a fusion reactor. So there's no reason for us to build this. Now, all that's left for us is 3 simple things. Now, most regular people wouldn't call these simple. Well, I guess 4 technically. No, 3. We do already have the quantum circuits. So we need to add quantum machine halls to our system, which is pretty simple, easy. We need to add a quantum upgrade assembler. So we need another assembler for the 19th time, but the last time as well, potentially. And we need ourselves UU matter. Now, normally you would have to make a singularity first and then take said singularity and electrolyze it. Now, don't worry. this 1 millibucket you see isn't insane because the singularity itself is never consumed. So this just sits in an electrolyzer producing UU matter infinitely, and if you throw enough turbo upgrades into this thing and slap some soul surges on it, this is a decently fast way to get UU matter. However, what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze some antimatter. And that's only because we've got an antimatter at this point, but a single antimatter turns into 500 millibuckets. And we have a decent amount, to say the least. So we'll grab ourselves a squeezer. No quest for that, really. Maybe we already had one. And we're just going to slap it down here. And if we set this as a recipe, throw it in here, this should work. If I say make myself UU matter, can I make a bucket? Will this work? No. I think it needs to go in from the top, like so. Aha, there we go. Oh, you know what? And it needs to be exported through the bottom. I hate squeezers, man. They are so annoying. So now if I make myself a bucket of antimatter, that should work. But you know what? It doesn't have power. I mean, that wouldn't have fixed what we did earlier by any means, because it pulled it out immediately. But with some power, aha! We now have antimatter, and that doesn't need to be soul surged or anything. Okay, I may have lied. We need another pattern provider. Now, technically speaking, we don't. We could manually craft this in any given assembler, but I would just think it's cooler if I could see what exactly we need for a replicator specifically, and to see if my system can even hold enough for the replicator. So as always, set that to the bottom, and if I look up replicator, wow, fun fact, we're not even close. I need to set up both the nuke and ultra dense metal ball recipes. Tin plates are an issue, platinum fine wire is an issue, and industrial aluminum wire is an issue. So both the nuke recipe means okay, I'm gonna stop saying I need an assembler because we're gonna keep needing assemblers the more I say it. But what we'll do is we'll set up this recipe. And do we have tungsten plates? We do. Okay, good. good start. And we need to be able to make plutonium ingots, which we make in an EBF. Okay, so I need another EBF because just plutonium ore itself doesn't exist, correct? No, it doesn't. Okay, so we need to set up an EBF. Now, by all means, if we look it up, okay, we're missing deuterium somehow, and it would help if we connected our EBF. What about this needs deuterium? How do we not have enough? Oh, you know what? Okay, now by all means, if we look this up, well, first of all, let's do the quest as need be because it does give us quantum circuits. So let's make a single quantum machine hull, which is easier than the rest of everything so far. And this will be our first time making iridium plates, so this guy might take a while. Oh, we never put a turbo upgrade in that way. Okay, so back to the plan. Turbo machine hull, no. Quantum machine hull, we'll claim the quest. Then we'll make ourselves a singularity, which gives us some nukes, one of these. So that's 64 processing units per nuke, by the way. So it's a decent amount, but that shouldn't take us too long. Honestly, I should set a stalker to keep glass in the system. Mind you, we have a pretty fast smelting setup, so it's not that big of a deal. But glass is usually our biggest bottleneck, and then I guess plutonium would be the next one. How much small plutonium dust do we have left? 450. That's not a lot. I'm gonna be honest, that's not much. So now it's simply a waiting game of getting these nukes crafted, which shouldn't take too much longer. We're almost there. And that's our singularity done. Now we're going to be careful and not place those nukes down that they were very generous to give us. We now have our singularity. And I will say for anyone that has been with my channel since Neotech, this is kind of the finale you deserved. I unfortunately didn't finish the Neotech series. Unfortunately, I lost all the footage for it, like I've mentioned before. So the reason I'm finishing Modern Industrialization, even though it's not required for this pack to be completed, is so I can show it all off. It's not too dissimilar to how it was done in Neotech, so just a little reasoning. Also, the replicator is really OP and I want it. Nevertheless, just a single bucket of UU matter will give us some more quantum circuits, and then we just need to make the quantum upgrade, which in return will give us more quantum upgrades, which is great. So I'll stick that all in the system with a right click, do like that. And if I make myself a single quantum upgrade, which is able to be crafted again, and by the way, 17,000 transistors, which is using almost all of our circuits and all the like, right? It's using so much of our resources, but this shouldn't take too long. The longest thing that will probably take is the highly advanced upgrades, which I believe if they enter our system, we should get the quest completed for it, but it might not, depending on how Autocraft stores it. But yeah, I think our biggest bottleneck is unironically glass. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this requester here and say keep 50,000 glass stocked in our system at all times. You'll see that I added requesting for rubber sheets, circuits, and more circuits. These are toggled off, by the way, the infused alloys. It absolutely broke my system. Mind you, I did do 250,000 of each, so I understand why I broke the system, but yeah, don't do that. Fun fact. But yeah, the longest thing is, like I said, the highly advanced upgrades, which shouldn't take too much longer to do. And this is crafting. Wow, okay. That's fantastic. Oh, and it did complete. That's nice. I figured it would, but you never know sometimes. And there it is, the quantum upgrade. Now, we only got one. It was one or two we were going to get, so we got one, which is nice. Now, I will say for some reason, the quantum gear is locked behind the fusion reactor because you do need 1 million EU per tick to craft it, by the way. Like, it's a very, very expensive recipe in the electric packer to get the quantum swords and stuff, but it shouldn't be locked behind the fusion reactor, in my opinion, because it's not it's not necessary to craft it, right? I mean, it's not that big of a deal. We could just make a single fusion reactor, but then we would have to set it up to get the helium plasma, so we're not going to do that. We don't really care about the quest itself. The singularities would be nice, though, I will say. Nevertheless, the thing we're after is the replicator, and we have everything to craft it. So now it's a waiting game of this recipe. And by waiting game, I mean I'm going to speed it up and get it right away. And even that was slow. And now we're legally able to duplicate items. And what does that mean? Well, you'll see in a second. So I'm going to place this down smack dab in the middle of this room. There's no reason to put this thing anything but front and center. What's fun about this is we're going to export UU matter into a replicator, right? And we are going to import the UU matter back into our system. Or sorry, the antimatter back into our system. So as you see, it uses 100 millibuckets of UU matter to make a single antimatter. A single antimatter gives 500 UU matter. So if you're seeing what I'm seeing, we now have an infinite cycle of UU matter. Now, like I said, you can also get an infinite cycle of UU matter through the singularity, but this is just, you know, a much better way to do it. So as that crafts up, we will just have infinite antimatter go into our system. As you see, the number is just climbing, and the UU matter will continuously flow. So that's cool and all. However, what's even better is this. If we place a jumbo tank down and say I want UU matter in this jumbo tank, and once again, we'll do a crafting card. So this will use up the last bit of UU matter we have, and I'm going to turn this guy off. So this will start filling up with UU matter very slowly, but it will. And you know what? I said I wasn't going to since I didn't think I would need to, but this guy's pretty slow. We already have it set up, so why not use it? There we go. We'll speed that guy up just a little bit. So if we take this antimatter pellet out, we're going to keep one at all times because I don't want to run out here. And let's just take this off just in case. So we're going to take our 46 bucket jumbo tank of UU matter, right? And if we place it in here, we now have UU matter being made from UU matter, making UU matter, and you see the cycle, right? So if we take all the UU matter we just collected, throw it in here again, oh, look at that. Where did I place that one? Wow, way over here. Architects needs to stop sometimes. And if we do the exact same thing again, slowly but surely the UU matter will empty out, and we can do this with simply any fluid. Now, there is a fun way I could set this up. A little something like this. This is so stupid, by the way. I just really want to point out how dumb this is. So our UU tank gets placed down. This guy is whitelisted. You only break empty jumbo tanks, potentially. Oh, you know what? He's backwards. I was going to say, why isn't that working? Oh, you know what? I have the offset wrong. Okay, there we go. So if this guy's only allowed to break... Oh, wait, no. I need that to be filtered NBT-wise. Fair NBT. There we go. Okay, perfect. So... This is the stupidest setup anyone's ever made, but it is very funny. So what this does, as you see, we can break these. Wait a minute. Why aren't you working? Maybe I do a jumbo tank specifically, like this is a deny list. No, that's going to break that. How do I set this up? Okay, so an annihilation plane works. So the JDT breaker didn't work, but an annihilation plane will work. I threw a void upgrade in here. If I ever get 2,000 jumbo tanks that are empty, from my free jumbo tanks, by the way, you know what? I'm just never going to need it. Also, for some reason, I don't know why I did this, but I stopped exporting UU matter into the system, so it just wasn't doing anything. I accidentally broke that. But now we have infinite UU matter, like genuinely infinite. 12,000 buckets already. I'm sorry, FTB devs. I'm unleashing chaos. But also, if you're this far into the pack, this is nothing. You can do, they have the antimatter recipe set up. This is just a more interesting way to do it, to say the least. So this will forever make us UU matter. However, I do want to make myself some nukes, because that would be very useful. Now, I don't know if this works, so I'm going to try it. I'm going to take my nukes, stick them in a drawer, and see if I can duplicate them directly. We'll lock it, and if we can do this... No, we can't. I didn't think so. I don't know if there is a storage controller or a storage system that allows duplication, because functional doesn't work. But I will keep messing around with things, because there's no reason not to. I do have to work on my placing game to get this guy down. There we go. And same with this one. There we go. However, I will make myself another quantum upgrade, as well as another quantum machine hull. Wow, we're missing electrum wire. At a time like this, where we're trying to have fun and duplicate a bunch of items, we're missing electrum wire. Unbelievable. So we'll throw the quantum machine hull in here. You know, anything we want to duplicate, right? Of course. The quantum upgrade, for example. Get some of those going. Get some quantum circuits going. And with all this done, we can make ourselves another replicator, which means we want an original jumbo tank. I almost messed that up, but we can set these back to making jumbo tanks, and now we have a replicator all to ourselves once this crafts. Slowly but surely. Okay, I said slowly but surely, but I just gotta go speed that guy up because that'll take 10 years otherwise. There we go. What is the speed on this thing? 400 seconds. Okay, that's not actually as bad as I thought it was. But like I said, we now have infinite resources. So we will send UU matter into this guy, and we can now duplicate everything in the game. So, as you see, this will continuously make us UU matter. 132,000 buckets already. And yeah, we can just duplicate whatever we feel like. So let's say we wanted to complete the pack, right? And, well, we needed all of the stuff in the shop. So like the bioneural circuit, for example. You know what, actually? I mean, I don't really care about the UU matter. Can I duplicate the replicator? Oh, I can. Nice. Oh, okay, so we have infinite replicators. Oh my. I mean, it's not like this is that crazy, considering everything we've already duplicated, but this is kind of crazy. Okay, but I will take our original replicator back. 102 jumbo tanks so far. Pretty good, I will say. But let's play the game, right? So we want to feed the beast, right? We want to get his pyramid up and ready, and we want to make sure he's all happy. When I get a single grain of end, I'm only going to make the one. We're not going to make 2 ender crystals. We're only going to make 1 ender crystal. Same with this. I'm just going to duplicate my Library of Alexandria. I'm not going to make another one. Same with grains of prescience. Not going to make another one. This guy, it's pretty easy. We don't need to worry about that. This, I don't want to make 60 more quantum alloy plates. I'm going to craft it this way. I'm only going to make 1 obsidian TNT, 1 plasma circuit, and 1 finished PCB, which means we got to do a lot of PNC next episode. This, we already have everything here, so I don't really care about that. Oh, actually, we need to make promethium, so that'll be next episode. And then this guy is just some qubits and some DNA. We're going to be done next episode, so look forward to that. But I'm going to wrap it up here. In the next episode, we will feed the beast, and we will complete the pyramid. So keep your eye out there, as we are on the cusp of completing the pack with our absolutely ridiculous replicator behind us. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, we are most likely going to be moving on to Divine Journey 2. Now that series probably won't start for a few days after the finish of FTB Skies, but we won't be too far off of it either. Nevertheless, guys, I do hope you enjoyed. I hope you've been enjoying this series. If you have, leave a like on the video. It does mean a lot. If you don't want to miss any future uploads, or our final episode for that matter, and our next series, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye!